Defensive tackle is becoming an increasingly important position for NFL teams as we see them go to lighter boxes and have less players to stop the run. These guys are crucial at getting that interior pressure as well as being able to stop the run. So we are going to be looking at the top 10 defensive tackles in the 2024 NFL Draft. Let's dive right into it, starting with number 10, Tyler Davis out of Clemson. He's 6'2", 300 pounds, a senior. Davis is somebody that I think will have a very specific role in the NFL, but be very good at it. He really doesn't have much when it comes to pass rushing. He doesn't have a lot of pass rush moves that he goes to. It's really pretty much a bull rush every single time, and he doesn't have any effective counters if he's beaten. He really doesn't have any secondary moves or ways that he can really attack the offensive lineman once he is locked up. That much is evidenced by his 0.5 sacks this year. Didn't even have a full sack. Didn't have the biggest production numbers. That's kind of not always a huge sign for a defensive tackle's success because a lot of times they're getting double teams. They can do their job without putting up huge numbers, but he's just really not much of a pass rusher. That being said, he's a very effective run defender. I think he has very solid blend of size and athleticism. It's really important for him, especially in outside zone. He can sift across the offensive line with his athleticism and make plays from the backside. He can also hold up at the point of attack and be kind of that crucial one-tech nose tackle type player and be effective in that role as well. I think he has good gap discipline. He understands where offenses are trying to attack him. He's really, really good in run defense. It's just he offers pretty much nothing as a pass rusher, and that is valuable, but it is going to limit his upside. I think somewhere late day 2, early day 3, he is going to be taken. I would be more than fine with that. He'll be an early down rotational player that I think can really succeed within that role. At number 9, we are going to go with Michael Hall Jr. He's kind of the complete opposite of Tyler Davis. Michael Hall is kind of that penetrating 3-tech. He's somebody with a lot of athleticism, a lot of explosiveness off the line of scrimmage. He's pretty unrefined. He's a true junior, 6'2", 280 pounds, so definitely very much on the lighter side when it comes to a defensive tackle, and I do think that shows up on his tape. He can get driven back, especially on double teams. Really not super effective at holding his gap and ensuring that the defense isn't going to run through his responsibility. That being said, his quickness, his burst, his athleticism, as well as some of the pass rush moves that he has a really nice swim move, an arm over, things that he can win with relatively quickly. He can be really dominant. He's just really inconsistent right now. His really good reps are awesome. They're, first round caliber, but he has way too many plays where he's getting blown off the ball. He's not filling his gap correctly. He's just somebody that I do think needs a lot of refinement, and with his size, it is going to be just kind of another niche specific role. It's very different from what Tyler Davis's role will be. He didn't have a ton of production, just 1.5 sacks, 2 tackle for loss this year, but he showed a lot of flashes on tape. It's just about kind of becoming a more consistent player and being able to be more reliable on a down-to-down basis. Right now, I think he's just going to be one of those third down rotational rushers. Maybe can turn into more if he can be a little bit more reliable, but I think he's just going to have a specific role, which kind of drops him down, again, to that late day 2, early day 3 conversation for me before I'd feel comfortable taking him. At number 8, we have Dwayne Carter out of Duke. He's a senior, 6'3", 305 pounds, had a sack, 3 tackle for loss, and a 70 at PFF grade in 2023. He put up a little bit better numbers in 2022 as well, so I think that is important to note. Carter's just a really nice blend of a lot of the things that you look for. He's not really dominant in any one area, and that means I don't think he's ever going to be, maybe a consistent starter. I think he could be a low-end starter, a high-end rotational type player. He just doesn't have anything that's super exciting, but he does everything really pretty well. He's got a good motor. He's a captain. He was, really, really well liked by the teammates he played with. He played with some intensity as well. He is relatively strong. He's a decent blend of athleticism and strength. He can shed blocks every once in a while. He's a pretty decent run defender. He's not the most consistent when it comes to pass rush moves, but he has shown that he can win. And, he's just one of those guys that very much is a jack of all trades, master of none. I like a lot of the stuff that he does. I think he's going to stick around in the NFL for a while because of just his blend of smarts and efforts and, pretty good football player. And, he just shows up in a lot of different aspects of the game. He can definitely fill his gaps. He can definitely penetrate, win with a couple of different moves as well. So I definitely think he can be somebody that comes off the bench, eats up some really significant snaps for you and is definitely not a liability, is just a really solid player. Somebody like that does have a lot of value in the NFL. Like we talked about, defensive tackles have a very specific role with these lighter boxes. You need guys that can come in and put up meaningful snaps, and I definitely think that Carter can be that player. A solid third-round grade on him, 75.65. I definitely think he can continue to improve his pass rush arsenal, definitely develop some further counters, but besides that, I do like a lot of aspects of his game. Moving up to number 7, I have Brandon Doras out of Oregon. He's a senior, 6'3", 272 pounds he weighed in at the Senior Bowl. He was listed at like 290 at Oregon, so that was definitely a little bit of a shock. Seeing somebody that light is not ideal, especially if you are wanting him to play that 3-tech position. Right now, he's kind of probably going to be a 3-4 defensive end, that 4-eye, or maybe even a 5-tech. I think he has some versatility, but there is, I think, some misconceptions when it comes to versatility. You have to be, really, really good in all of those different positions that you can play. And I think that Doras, if he does play at 272, is kind of going to have a tough time playing on the interior in the NFL. So I'm just a little bit hesitant to see kind of where he lines up, what his weight is at, and kind of where he'll be able to be best, just because I don't think he's going to be able to survive double teams and really be super effective against NFL offensive linemen at that size. That being said, a lot of the stuff that he has shown on tape is really impressive. He doesn't have the best strength, which again comes along with his size, but he has nice long arms that allows him to get good leverage. I think he's got a really decent bag of pass rush moves he can go to. He's won in a variety of ways, both with power and with athleticism, speed, technique, all of those different ways he's shown he can win. He also has relatively effective counters. Even if he doesn't win first up, he definitely can still win that rep, going to different moves, winning with athleticism, using his smarts. I think he has really good intangibles, really good athleticism. If he was playing at 290 and was that more penetrating 3-tech type of player, I definitely think he's got really good athleticism that he could win with at the NFL level as well. He doesn't have, the best run defense, just again, because he is a little bit smaller. He can't fill the gaps as effectively. He's not the best at shedding and holding up at the point of attack. He's more of that penetrating player where he's probably going to have a decent bit of tackle for loss. He's going to probably be able to shoot in the backfield, make some big plays, but he might not just be as that consistent run defender that will plug his gap no matter what. And, I think that kind of shows up in his stats. He had 5 sacks, 6.5 tackle for loss, 76.9 PFF grade. I'm just very curious to kind of see what his best position is in the NFL. I think he is a very good player, but you've just kind of got to find the right home and really develop the skills that will allow him to be the most successful in that role. Right now, I have a late second, early third round grade on him. I think it is important to put him into the right scheme where he will be successful. Right now, I think that's at 3-4 defensive end. That's not the most valuable position. So I will be curious to see kind of where he goes. I think he will tear up the combine. He will be very, very athletic, especially if he's at 272 pounds. But I'll be curious to see where he goes. For me right now, somewhere kind of on that turn on day 2 is where I would be looking for him. At number 6, I think this was a very difficult kind of evaluation. Leonard Taylor III out of Miami. Super young player. He's a redshirt sophomore, 6'3", 305 pounds. And he's just a very interesting player to look at. Really didn't have the production. 1 sack, 3.5 tackle for loss this past year. 74.7 PFF grade. He is somebody that, kind of burst onto the scene early and broke out a little bit and then has not necessarily been, I think, put in the right position. Miami used him a lot as that nose tackle, that 1-tech type of player where I think he really should be more of a 3-tech. I get why they put him there. He's 6'5" and over 300 pounds, but I really think that he showed he wins best with his athleticism, his long arms, his height, his strength, those kinds of things, rather than just pure technique. And I thought he was blown off the ball a lot as a true nose tackle. I don't think he survives double teams very well. That is a big concern that I kind of have for him. There's just a lot of inconsistencies. Even when it comes to his pass rush moves, he definitely has some, and when he wins big. He definitely is able to shed quickly, use a lot of the athletic gifts, the natural talent he has to win quickly and get after the quarterback. I don't think there's a ton of technique right now in his game. I don't think he has a lot of effective counters when he loses quickly. And then, you definitely see moments of him just getting blown off the ball and not being in the right position, not holding his gaps. but all of the natural talent is absolutely there. I think he is somebody that NFL teams are going to really like because they think they can mold him into a really good player. And I totally could see a world where he becomes a great player in this draft, as well above this number 6 ranking in the interior defensive line class. But I also think there's a world where he goes to a team that tries to put him at nose tackle. He gets blown off the ball by bigger, faster, stronger offensive linemen than he played in college, where that was happening anyway, and he really just isn't able to pan out in the NFL. So I think he needs to go to the right situation, a coaching staff that will utilize him in that 3-tech role, and I think he can find some success. But he's a young player with a lot of natural talent. I get the appeal. There's just a lot of inconsistencies on tape. I was a little underwhelmed, but I get kind of why people are high on him because of what he could potentially be. For now, I really probably wouldn't feel comfortable taking him before that round 2 to 3 turn. I do think he's going to be a round 2 player most likely, but we will see. And I think that's kind of where I've landed on Taylor at this point at number 6. At number 5, we've got Chris Jenkins out of Michigan. He's a senior, 6'3", 305. Had a good 82.7 PFF grade, 2.5 sacks, 4.5 tackle for loss. The thing with Chris Jenkins is he is an awesome run defender. He has great long arms. He's definitely somebody that uses leverage really effectively, especially kind of within that 4-eye position, where I think is probably his best position. I think he can be anywhere from a 3-tech to a 5-tech, kind of out wide. He definitely has the size to play on the interior, but his length and his athleticism are both really impressive. He can shed blocks. He's really, really smart and just understands where the offense is trying to attack him, how to out-leverage the offense, get in the running lanes, and be effective at plugging up those gaps. He's just very effective in that manner. Now, I will say I don't think he's a very advanced pass rusher. Every once in a while, he comes out with a really nasty spin move or something like that. He can win with his athleticism. I don't think he has very good counters. If he gets locked up, if the offensive lineman gets into his chest, I do think he has a lot of trouble in kind of breaking free, getting after the quarterback, making a secondary move. So I definitely think there's a lot of room for improvements in the passing game, but he has a super high floor to me as a rotational type of player in those roles, and then a really stout run defender on early downs as well. So I do like Jenkins. I think he has a high floor. I do think he'll be in the league for a long time. Just that lack of pass rush upside does kind of make me a little bit hesitant to take him again before that round 2 to 3 turn. Very similar grades on the last couple of guys. So I definitely think you could flip them in whatever order you wanted. Jenkins, I just definitely believe will be a really good pro just because of his really high floor in run defense. Moving on to number 4, Braden Fisk out of Florida State. He's a senior, 6'5", 297 pounds. And he was one of my favorite players to watch throughout this entire draft process so far. He had a 73.8 PFF grade, 6 sacks, 9 tackle for loss. This guy just plays with a noticeable energy and intensity, motor that you just want on your football team. He is just constantly running to the ball. He's constantly looking to make plays, and he just plays with an infectious energy that I love to watch. Right now, I think his intangibles, his block shedding, his strength, are all really big strengths of his. He's a really good run defender, and a lot of that just comes from his willingness to do the dirty work, be disciplined in your gaps, be able to penetrate into the backfield and make plays, and just understand leverages, how to win, where they're looking to attack you, and then just that motor of his to just chase down plays from the backside and be involved in pretty much every single snap. I just love that energy, and I do think it definitely really matters. He is a developing pass rusher, and he is a little bit older. He was a transfer from Western Michigan, looked really good against his improved competition in the ACC at Florida State with his shown that on tape. I think that he can continue to be a little bit more dominant one-on-one, going to pass rush moves, arm overs, spin moves, rip moves, all of those different things. I think he can definitely incorporate further into his game, but I just really, really love Fisk. I think he'll be in the league for a long time. I think his character, his effort, his intensity, that was on display at the Senior Bowl as well. This guy is just somebody that loves the game of football. I think almost any team would love to have this guy in their locker room, and I definitely just really like the energy from Fisk. That pushes him up a little bit as well. Again, I have him as a mid-day 2 guy, end of that round 2, early round 3 conversation, but I really, really like some of those intangibles from Fisk that really kind of pushes him up above a few of these other guys that I had graded similarly. And then that brings us to our top three. Definitely, I think, a big three, and I still think that number 3, Tandre Sweat here, is a little bit further off from number 1 and 2 in this class. Tandre Sweat is just a ridiculous prospect. He's 6'4", 362 pounds. He didn't want to weigh in at the Senior Bowl. There was definitely weight concerns. I do think that conditioning is going to be important. I don't think he's going to be an every down player, and I don't think you're going to be getting a ton of snaps out of him every single game. But when he is out there, he is absolutely dominant. When it comes to his strength, it's unmatched. He can just plow guys over with one arm. He has a lot of force behind him, obviously, but he has just so much power in his game, and he is an awesome run defender. He can absolutely two-gap. He can take on double teams really, really well. I mean, he's so big, offensive linemen just don't move him. He's not a very good athlete. I mean, at that size, he moves decently well for being 362 pounds, but this guy doesn't win because of his ability to run around you. It's his ability to truly run through you. He can shed really effectively. He's got pretty active hands, and that's something that he improved a lot in 2023. Active hands, being able to knock the arms away from his chest, push-pull moves, forklift moves where he just gets that leverage under the offensive lineman and just throws them backwards. He definitely has some pass rush moves as well. He showed some arm over moves. He showed some things that he can do that are really effective. Doesn't have many counters. He's not going to win with athleticism, and he's not going to be an every down player. So that's kind of where the drawbacks are in Tandre Sweat's game. But if you have him as an early down, just run defender that you will not move, he can definitely two-gap. He can definitely be super effective in that role. A 91.7 PFF grade is insane. 2 sacks, 8 tackle for loss in 2023 was very productive. I think he definitely has a role. Obviously, love to be able to have him on the field a little bit more, and you'd like to see maybe some of that athleticism come into play if he's able to drop a little bit of weight, but he is very dominant. The reps that he is out there, especially in run defense, I really, really like Tandre Sweat. I would definitely take him in round 2. I wouldn't take him in round 1 just because I don't think you're getting a 3-down player in him, but for his role, Sweat is an awesome, awesome player. And then that brings us to the top 2. I think these are far and away the top 2 in this class. At number 2, we have Byron Murphy, the second out of Texas as well. He's a junior, 6'1", 308 pounds. Murphy is just such a well-balanced player. He does everything really effectively. A 91.1 PFF grade is absurd. 5 sacks, 8.5 tackle for loss. The thing I love about Byron Murphy is he is so effective in both phases of the game. He has really effective pass rush moves that he can go to. He will go to a swim move, a push-pull. He can win splitting double teams with power. All of these different ways that he can win in addition to his bull rush. But he is also a really good run defender. He has great technique taking on double teams. He splits double teams really effectively. He holds up well at the point of attack. He's got a good motor. He can shed blocks. He holds his gaps really effectively. I mean, there's really just not a lot of things that you don't love about Byron Murphy. I do think that he can continue to come up with a little bit more effective counters. I don't think he's exceptional in any one area necessarily, but he is just a really good, complete player. Would absolutely take him in the first round, and I think that he will go that high. I definitely think he'll be a mid to maybe late first round pick. I'd say somebody somewhere between picks 10 and 25 is most likely where Murphy is going to go. I think that's well-deserved. He's a very, very good player, kind of can do everything very effectively, and I think that that's so valuable to have. Definitely a 3-down type of player on the defensive line. That guy is going to go round 1. And then at number 1, we have Jon Newton out of Illinois. He's 6'2", 295 pounds. He's definitely kind of more of that 3-tech mold. He had an 84.9 PFF grade, 7.5 sacks, and 8.5 tackle for loss. This guy is really, really impressive when it comes to rushing the passer. He has great pass rush moves, just really wins. If he's one-on-one, he can win in so many different ways. Power and athleticism, but as well as technique. He's got great spin moves, swim moves. He can win with rips, arm overs, just has a deep bag that he can win with, and he has really effective counters as well. If he doesn't win initially, he will absolutely transition into another move and be really effective as well. He's got a great motor, understands kind of how teams are trying to attack him, and he is an exceptional athlete for his size and position as well. It's very impressive. He's not the best run defender. He definitely is he puts in a lot of efforts in that part of the game, but he's not the same caliber of run defender as Byron Murphy or Tandre Sweat. Those guys, really hold their gaps super effectively. Newton's more of that penetrating guy, not really giving up a huge play necessarily, but he's more trying to penetrate into the backfield, get a tackle for loss, or get after the passer. That's really where he is most effective. I have a true first round grade on Newton as well. I definitely think that you could take him, top half of the first round even, and be very, very happy with your return. Interior pressure is one of the most valuable things because it is so disruptive to a quarterback and to an offense, and Newton could absolutely be that kind of player. He reminds me a little bit of Kalijah Kancey from last year, just that really good athlete with a lot of pass rush moves, a deep bag, and the ability to counter and really get after the quarterback. I thought Kancey really came on strong towards the end of the year this year, and I think Newton could have that same kind of impact for a team picking in the middle of round 1. That's going to do it for my top 10 defensive tackles in the 2024 NFL Draft. What did you think about my rankings? Who should be on this list? Who do I have too high or too low? Let me know in the comments down below. While you're down there, hit the like button. It's just a free and easy way to support the channel. Lets me know and YouTube know that you like this kind of content and pushes it out to other fans just like you. While you're down there as well, please hit the subscribe button. It would truly help me out. It means the world to me. I appreciate your guys' support. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in the next one.